I didn't even think I needed courage to quit my job to do
Mm-hmm.
this because it was a clear answer. Like it's in front of me. I had to do it. We picked up the keys on a Friday. We cleaned the place Saturday. And on Monday was actually our first class,
Wow.
which the AC broke on Monday. This really stuck with me. One student after class, adult student, said that that class that we had once a week was what she looked most forward to every single week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the DreamWalk Podcast. I'm your host, Andy, and on this episode, we explore the journeys behind people's dreams, the twists, the turns, the challenges, and the opportunities that shape the path they chose. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Adrienne Chan, Executive Director and co-founder of Bellevue Classical Ballet. So what's fascinating about Adrienne's story is that it isn't simply a story about ballet. It's a story about passion, discipline, entrepreneurship, and having the courage to leave a successful career in technology to pursue something deeply meaningful. Adrienne, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Andy, for having me, and thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Of course, so I'm very excited to actually dive into the journey because it is such a unique combination of art, business, and technology. So let's start at the beginning. So, Adrienne, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little about who you are beyond Bellevue Classical Ballet?
Sounds great. Thank you, Andy. My name is Adrienne, and I'm the co-founder and executive director of Bellevue Classical Ballet, or BCB for short. My background is actually in engineering and tech, and I've spent quite a few years in the tech world before I decided to leave and start BCB. Dance has always been a huge part of my life, and I previously worked as a backup dancer and choreographer for many stage, TV, concert productions. And so now I'm really excited that I get to merge both my management skills that I've developed over my career in tech with my passion for dance through, and specifically ballet through BCB.
Thank you very much, Adrienne. And yeah, yesterday we actually talked during our pre-meeting. I actually gave you time to um, give me a very brief description or very brief history as to how you started. But I was
Yeah.
pretty amazed how long the journey has been for you. You mentioned yesterday that you started dancing, or was it gymnastics that you started at the early age of 9? So can you talk more about how you started with ballet?
Yeah, sounds good. It's funny because actually my first introduction to ballet, I did not like it at all. I was thrown in an after-school program. I was probably maybe like 3 or 4 because it was in kindergarten. And there was ballet class there, but I found it very boring. And so it wasn't something that I really enjoyed or liked. And so after that after-school program, I had not touched ballet for actually many years after that. But instead, I really enjoyed gymnastics. So I was doing gymnastics, rhythmic gymnastics, for quite a while until I was around 9. But at that point, it was sort of a turning point where if I were to continue with gymnastics, I would have to be a lot more serious. I might have to go to school there, and my family and myself as well took education very seriously. And so at that point, I kind of had a decision to make, like whether I continue with gymnastics or not. So at the end of the day, I decided to quit gymnastics, and coincidentally, I went to a dance summer camp because we were thinking dance would be similar to gymnastics. But that was my first exposure to dance. It was not ballet. It was more like jazz dance. And I really, really, really enjoyed it because it was very similar, kind of similar to gymnastics. And I was very lucky that the teacher there was like, "Oh, you should keep going. You should keep doing this. Like, don't just keep this as a summer camp. You should keep dancing." And so at that point, my parents were trying to find a dance school for me to go to. Not ballet at the time. It was more just like jazz dance. But when we found the closest school to, I guess, my home, they're actually a ballet school. So they did offer jazz and other styles, but you would have to take ballet first in order to take any of the other styles. And I remember being a little upset about that, and because I had just cut my hair short too, so I'm like, how am I going to tie my hair in a bun? And so I was actually quite upset, but we gave it a try, and that first class in ballet completely changed my life. It was no longer boring. I had a really, really great time. I think teachers make a huge difference in my life. She saw something in me and made it really fun for me as well in class. That I just, from then on, just kept going. And it was to the point where I had to make sure that whoever was driving me to class, like I would not be late. I cannot be late because I can't miss even 1 second of class. And that's just how much I loved it. So yeah, that's how it all started. And that transition, as you mentioned, was around when I was 9 years old. And I've loved ballet ever since.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you really had your teachers or you really had mentors who actually really pushed you and saw something in you that said, "Oh, this kid has a future or a potential." So, how important do you feel? And from the meeting that we had yesterday, you also said that having teachers encouraging students are very important. So can you tell us more about that? How, and now that you have a ballet school, what revolves around that idea to kids who want to learn ballet? And I know in BCB you don't just teach children, but you also teach adults. So, and I think there's a very big difference when you teach kids and adults. So can you first tell me what's the importance of having like a teacher or mentor who believes in what you're doing, and what also is the difference, or what are the differences in teaching young children and then adults ballet?
Yeah, two very separate questions, I feel. So I'll start with the first one. But for me personally, I think so. I had a ballet teacher that really shaped my life, but I also had a math teacher that also really shaped my life and ignited that passion for math, which is why I ended up in engineering. But pretty much who I am today is really because of the teachers that I were drawn to and the lessons they have taught me. And so for me, teachers play a really big role. Not just teachers, but the whole environment of the school and the learning. I've been to some schools where it was, let's say, more competitive, not as fun, versus like other schools where it's very encouraging. And even though there's like friendly competition, it's clearly friendly, and that environment is so nice because it pushes you to keep going. So to me, creating that environment is super, super, super important in the school. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to opening a school too, is because I want to be that place where students can ignite their passion for ballet. And that is our vision, right? Is to help ignite a lifelong love for ballet, not just in that moment, but for a lifelong time. So I feel like all of these experiences kind of led up to opening this school, helping students enjoy the process, and actually this theory of really making sure that there's positive reinforcement. We are very technical in how we teach, but at the same time, we don't compromise on making sure that we encourage students and that they actually enjoy coming here. And that's actually one thing that Eric and Eric is my co-founder, truly believed in. And that's kind of how we also started feeling like this business was really going to work, and we had the same vision for our business. But that's separate topics, so we can talk about that.
We'll talk about that later.
But yeah, so it's definitely shaped who I am as a person, and I'm hoping that I can do the same for others as well. So I think that's like the first question. Second question,
what was the difference?
Children's division and adult program. Yeah, so we have adult classes 7 days a week for all levels, from absolute beginners all the way to like advanced dancers. And so we do run both programs every day, 7 days a week. So the children's program, it's really important to spark the joy, I feel, because as children, you still might not know what you enjoy, what you like. You're trying many different things. You're there maybe not because like you chose it, but just because ballet is good for you. Go to ballet. So I think sparking that joy and passion for dancing is super important for the young ones. And what's really inspiring with the adult students is everyone has their own life as well. When you get older, you have job, you have responsibilities and everything. But everyone who comes chooses to take time out of their valuable day, out of other things they could be taking care of, to be there. And it was their choice to do that. And so they're really there to really soak in everything and learn as much as they can, and it's the time for themselves. So that's one actually similarity between children's and adults, is that we notice for both groups, they really want to learn. So the way we teach, we give a lot of corrections, we give attention to every single student, because everyone has chosen like their time to be there, and so we feel that that's very valuable, and we want to give back and make sure that they get the most out of their time. So even though they might be there for like different purposes, one is just, to figure out what is ballet, like, do I like this? And the other is like, I chose to be here and I'm like needing to really just enjoy myself. They all really want to learn. And so even though there's differences in some aspects, we really teach the same way because they want the best training that they can get. And that's what we found out after actually a lot of user research, talking to a lot of people, because that was actually very shocking to us for the adults, because we thought as adults, maybe you just want to be there to enjoy, feel the movement, you know, get some activity in. But that's actually not the case for our demographic. Of course, there's many different reasons why people dance, but specifically our demographic is really like, I'm here to learn. And I want that feedback. I want to know how to do this properly. I want to get all the corrections possible. And so, yeah, it's really fun, like trying to do both at the same time.
Yeah, and do you get like stories from your students, specifically from your adult students or from the adult program? Do you have any stories where they say, hey, Adrienne, I actually started or coming to Bellevue Classical Ballet because this has been my passion since I was young, but I only have time to actually pursue this passion today. So do you have these kinds of stories that, you know, your students tell you, this actually has been my passion, but I was too, you know, here in the Philippines, we call it adulting. So where you officially you officially enter the adult life after college. So, and then life happens and then you forget all about your passion. Like for me, my passion is in music and in sports. I totally forgot about my passion when I started working. So do you have these kinds of stories from your students too?
Yeah, actually, so we have more than two, but I can have like two bigger categories of adult students, where one is they've always wanted to try ballet, but they never got the opportunity to as a kid, whether that be they didn't have the time for financial reasons or just their parents didn't put them in ballet. They were put in other activities. And so there's that whole new group where they try like our Absolute Beginner series, which is actually, I think, our most popular adult group is that like Absolute Beginners. And it's amazing how many adults want to give ballet a try. And so sometimes like there's like beginner one, adult ballet, and so we also label it beginner one, but it's actually not that beginner friendly. So it's already expecting that you know a lot of the terminology in ballet or you just follow moves. So we actually created an Absolute Beginner series where it even teaches you from the very beginning like how to stand. How do you stand in ballet? What are these different positions? So that we can bridge that gap for so many of those people who were like, I've loved ballet my whole life, but I was too intimidated to try it, or I've never got the opportunity to try it. But now that I have the time or the capability or the money to do it, they're willing to do it. So that's one group. And we're so thankful that we have so many of those people, because ballet is still a very old school, old-fashioned art form. So it's very inspiring to us to see that there are still people who are really like, I want to give this a try for the first time. And then we have another whole demographic where it's they might have danced as a child, and as you said, life gets caught up. We live in an area where there's a lot of tech workers. So maybe they're building a career in tech or other careers, and they've had to drop ballet throughout that time, and they're coming back. And it might not just be like young adults. We have people who are like 60 plus who are saying like, I used to dance, but now that I have time for myself, I'm retired, I want to come back. And it's super inspiring to see especially the older adults who still have that passion and drive and want to come back to this and really there to just enjoy and be themselves and have ballet be a part of their life. And actually, I was one of those people where, I mean, I had that career in tech. So during that time, I had quit ballet for quite a little while. And I've lost myself, I guess, in who I am until I found ballet again. And so I think that group really, really, really resonates with me. And I'm so glad that we can provide a space where we can cater to bringing it back to the absolute beginners, who are people who have never done ballet and want to try, and also like intermediate and advanced level for students who have done it their whole life and maybe had stopped for a while, and now it's like they need to find themselves again and come back to it. And so, yeah, one thing that's really important to us is that for the adult classes, especially, that we have the full range from absolute beginners all the way to advanced, so that we can cater to all those different stories.
All right. Thank you very much, Adrienne. And yeah, that was just a question that has always been in my mind, like, because it can happen to anybody. Like, you get caught up in life and then you just start reigniting that passion, you know. And sometimes other people don't reignite it anymore. They say they're too late, or it's too late, I'm too old. So yeah, so it's very nice. Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say no matter if it's ballet or anything else, but having that passion, I feel, keeps you going as a human being, right? I mean, life is not just all about your work, your job, or anything else. So having that feel to keep your work going, to keep your life going is super, super important. And actually, this really stuck with me. One student after a class, adult student, said that that class that we had once a week was what she looked most forward to every single week. And that it kind of helped her keep going as well. So I feel very thankful that we can provide a space and opportunities for people to feel that way.
When you were still in tech, there was really something in you that kept telling you you need to do this. Like you said, it has always been something in your ear telling you that you really need to do this business, or you really need to do this ballet thing. So, and you said you never really stopped until you actually did it, or you never really stopped until you actually did the business. So can you tell us more about that? What was this, and was that about passion, or was that something that you felt you just needed to do, and then once you do it, you can stop doing it? It's like just trying to itch, So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I guess a lot of it, two things. One, my passion is really in dance, so I would love if the rest of my life, everything I do is related to dance, and especially ballet. But the second part is, even though I was working in tech, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's something that really, I think, sparked my interest when I had an internship in a startup company. Especially that startup company was in an incubator. So there was an incubator that was growing, I forget how many, but let's say like 20 companies, all startups, all in one place, everyone just there working for their dream and their passion and really believing in what they're trying to build. That energy really, really, really spoke to me. The drive, the passion, I will get it done, like no matter what the challenges, will overcome them and get it done. That energy was so refreshing to me. And in that moment, in that internship, I was like, this is the environment that I want to be in, this entrepreneurial spirit, that whole drive and motivation. I want that. And for me, it was kind of something that was always in the back of my head. So after that internship, I decided to do something that was like similar to like a minor in entrepreneurship. So I had that along with my engineering degree. Afterwards, though, before I graduated, I had already gotten a full-time offer at Microsoft to work as a product manager there. And so at that point, I was like, you know what? And of course, if I have such a good job, and it feels like such a good opportunity too, because I feel very lucky to have these opportunities. So I didn't want to miss out on any of these. So I took the offer, but in the back of my mind, I always felt like I wanted to do something more, something that was meaningful to me, and be an entrepreneur at some point. And so I told myself, if after many years of working in tech, I still wanted to be an entrepreneur, that when the time was right, I would go and do it. And so a couple years into my tech career, pandemic hit. We were working from home, everything was changing. I started having just a little bit of burnout because, again, how can you work so many hours on something that you're not super duper passionate about? I think that's super important, right?
Yes.
And so at that time, I decided to quit my job and go actually get my master's in entrepreneurship. And so I did that because, again, as I mentioned earlier, education is super important to me, school, teachers, everything. So that's why I wanted to go back to school for it, even though I knew like entrepreneurship was a very hands-on thing. You kind of have to do it to learn. But I also wanted to hear and learn from mentors and people. So I went and did that. I got my master's in entrepreneurship while kind of exploring different ideas. But for me, I think it takes many things to make it the right fit. One is like it has to be something that you really, 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 really believe in, like to the point that it's like there's no way it can fail, or you've already thought of many solutions of, if it goes bad this way, I can fix it this way. And it's something that you need to think about every single day and have that drive that like I can't stop thinking about it. And that's the only way that can keep you going into this like path where you're literally working 24/7. So actually and I didn't find exactly what that was yet while I was in the program. I knew it always had to do with dance. I knew it would have to be something dance related. But at that time I was trying to merge like dance and tech together. But none of those ideas really made me feel like it could be something that could take off. So after my master's program, I actually went back to Microsoft for a little bit and I worked in tech again until this idea came up of Bellevue Classical Ballet and building a school and meeting the right co-founder. But ever since it felt right, yeah, there's no turning back. It was just kind of like
Right.
I had to do this. So that entrepreneurial, I think, spirit or that drive to be like, I want to do something dance related has always been um, with me, even throughout my whole tech career. But it's just the right timing, the right people, the right idea, I think,
I
that really
agree.
made it take off. So,
Right. And would you say, Adrian, that, and I have seen, and I think I mentioned to you yesterday that I have a few nieces who also had ballet classes. They had here in the Philippines, it's more of a summer class. And once kids are really interested, once also when teachers are like, you need to continue to come even though it's no longer summer. So they do ballet or they attend ballet classes. But my question is, do you think the drive that you said that you have always had, do you think that's also like a character trait that ballerinas also have that really is in you? I understand, and I'm not sure how you call the like the um how do you call the pieces of songs in an act? Is that how you call it, an act in ballet,
call
like
it a ballet piece, one piece.
ballet
Yeah,
piece? Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I know, several ballet pieces, they can be very difficult to do. There are different movements that you need to do, and then in my point of view, I think ballerinas try to make it perfect, for a piece. So do you think your drive also comes from that characteristic of being a ballerina, or is it just something an individual has?
I think both. Um, for ballet is really, really hard. You're putting your body into positions that are not natural or not meant to be for human
Right, right.
beings. It's so difficult, and you're supposed to make it look like it's the easiest.
Mhm.
Um,
And it's
and
very, and sorry to cut you off, but I also wanted to say that although, I've seen like um behind the scenes how you guys really try to do your best. I see like people crying, like ballerinas crying because they can't do a certain piece. But when for the audience experience, it looks so calming. It looks so like all the movements that you guys do with your body are very soft. They're very, but behind the scenes, you guys like some break, feet or fall down, and I see what you guys do with your ballerina shoes or um right, so it's very interesting. So yeah, sorry to cut you off.
no, no, no problem at all. It's a
Mhm.
conversation, so it's great. But yes, it's very tough, and I think the toughest part about ballet is there's never perfect, yet the whole ballet world strives to be that. And even like the best ballerinas there are in the world, you still get coached, you still get corrections, you still get, you can do this better, you can do this more. Like there's never you reach this and you're done. That doesn't work in ballet, and especially because it's an art form, it's also subjective, right? So one person may want it more this way, and another person may want it a little more that way, and so it's a very tough, I think, world to be in where you feel like there's constantly more, or you have to constantly be better for sure. And so I think we are very like we need to work hard. We really need to put in the effort and do the work. So I do think like some of that carries from ballet. I do also think it is a bit of like personality as well that probably was developed for ballet, or maybe people with this personality are more driven to ballet. Um, but yeah, I feel like that's a characteristic that's sort of not just in ballet, but sort of in every other aspect. It's just how can I do better? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Okay, and yeah, I just while you were speaking, while you were saying, ballet is very tough. Growing up, I've seen different movies that have a ballet theme in them, and they can be pretty dark.
Mm.
So like Black Swan, and it really shows how competitive ballet is. And most of the time, of course, when you are someone who wants to improve, you compete with yourself. But from the movies that I've seen, they compete with other people, and there can be different twists in the movie. But again, I've always seen ballet as something that when you say classical, you feel that everything you see there is calming, and it really has discipline, and I think in everything that we do, there should always be discipline. So now I wanted to move to another part of the topic that we have, to say that many people dream about starting a business but never take the leap. So can you actually tell us what gave you the courage to really leave your career in tech?
Yeah, that's a great question because I get asked this pretty often. Like, how did you just leave tech to do this? I think really a few things. One is the drive. Once the seed of this idea started, I had thought about this 24/7. Like, there was not a single moment where I was not thinking about this. How can we make this happen? What is the next thing we need to do? How can we make this reality? And that drive to be constantly thinking about it and not having any break told me that I really needed to do this. I really wanted to do this. And so that was one part where it's like, I'm obsessed with this. I have to do it. Second part is I've had many ideas before. Like, I knew as an entrepreneur, I wanted to be an entrepreneur that had dance in it somehow. But for me, before that was like maybe merging dance and technology, which is my background, and merging the two things together. But something just didn't really sit right with me with any of those ideas to be like, I'm just going to do this full time. Because as I mentioned before, ballet is a very old school art form. It's kind of hard to merge technology into it. And also, it's a very unique user base in the ballet world. And I don't think necessarily, let's say, tech and ballet overlapping has like the biggest user base. And so for none of those ideas, I felt I had the courage, I guess, to quit my job to do these things because, one, I wasn't as passionate about it. Like, I wasn't thinking about 24/7. It's just like, oh, this is kind of cool. I could do it as a side project. And two, I was realistic that I knew I could probably have it work as a side project, and I could probably still have maybe another revenue stream or some income coming in, but it wasn't going to be anything that was like a successful business. But with BCB, I think there were a lot of components that came together, including finding the right co-founder, doing a lot of user research, and then even for all the financial stuff, estimating as if like the worst case scenario, can we still survive? Will this still happen? Thinking of all the worst case scenarios and feeling like I'm still confident that this is going to be a success. Those two together, one, it's like making it happen because I've thought of all scenarios and I have workarounds for everything. I know this thing is going to work if I put my effort into it. And the second is like, I can't stop thinking about it. Those two together, it was so simple. Like, I didn't even think I needed courage to quit my job to do this because it was a clear answer. Like, it's in front of me. I had to do it. This is what I had to do. So I think, yeah, just those two components coming together. Once you find the right thing, which of course takes time. Like, I've had many other ideas that I did not quit my job for. But you can tell when it feels right, because it's all you can ever do. And you're so confident in it that like, even no matter what anyone else says, you have an answer to reply them of why it will work. And so, yeah, here I am. Quit my job.
Thank you very much.
Now.
So yeah, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs or who want to start a business really need that confidence too. And thank you very much for adding that, because I know there are a lot of business owners who really have a very good idea, but they're not confident. So they're not confident, and they may still have fears, or they may have anticipated risks. If I leave this and do this now, what if it fails? Do I still have a job to go back to? So sometimes these are the kind of risks that they think about. And I think you also mentioned yesterday that this was actually what you were also thinking about. And you mentioned that you had stopped working for Microsoft back then. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then there was a time where you went back to working because your manager had like an open role. And we go back to having the kind of manager or mentor that you had, that you really, that you were really inspired. So can you tell us more about that journey?
Yeah. Also, sorry, one more thing about risk. Now that you mentioned risk, yes, it is a really big risk, but at the same time, like, when you love it so much, if you still feel like it's a little risk, I'm not sure if that like drive is really enough to get you there. Because entrepreneurship is such a tough journey. Like, it is very, very hard and you pour all your hours in it and you don't get the benefits of it right away. Like we're still working so hard and trying to make this work.
It's a work in progress.
So if you still feel like you have that little fear, I think like you have to assess like, is this idea that I want to quit my job for, is that really something that like I have to do? Like it's the one thing like I need to do, I have to do it 24/7. That's one thing. And the second thing is, in terms of identifying risks, like the confidence that I had in this idea, it can't just be a blind confidence. It's not, oh, this is such a great idea, I'm going to do it. It's really working out all the finances, really working out all the different scenarios, doing lots and lots and lots of user interviews. And out of all of those interviews, assuming that what if only like less than 10% convert, does that still work? Do I have the right pieces? Do I have the right team? And when all of those come together, then yes, you can have the confidence because you've done all that risk analysis and you've done everything to make sure you've tried your best shot at making everything work. And so confidence will come very naturally once you've done all of that analysis and assessment. So, sorry, sidetracked for a second. But yes, back to your question about Microsoft. What was it? Just like sharing a little bit about my journey from leaving Microsoft, trying entrepreneurship and back.
Yeah, going back to, you mentioned that you went back to working because your manager had like an open position and you initially wanted to go back because your manager was someone who inspired you while you were in, was it that in Microsoft or to go ahead?
So I guess, I mean, it's great that I'm creating a school now that we're talking about it, because it does seem like I am really drawn to mentors. I am really drawn to teachers.
Yeah.
That's what's important to me. But I worked at Microsoft for around 4 years, and I quit to go get my master's in entrepreneurship. And when I finished my program in master's in entrepreneurship, near the end of it was when this whole AI boom and everything was happening. And so my previous manager had taken his team, or his role transitioned into, it was the same product, but it was developing AI for that product. And so he was looking for, sorry, can you hear that? Let me close my notification. Okay, perfect.
It's okay.
So, sorry, there was a ding, so I just wanted to make sure. But going back to Microsoft, there was like the big AI boom. He was expanding his team, and at that time we were talking a little bit, and for me it's always the people matter. Product clearly matters, as I was saying, like you need to believe and love your product in order, and my product right now is a dance school, for it to keep you going. But another huge aspect is the people that you're working with and people that believe in you. And that's super, super important. And I felt like I had a manager that really supported me and believed in me and saw my strengths. And that is something that is priceless. And could also make your life very easy, or if it goes the other way, make your life very hard. So having the right team, the right manager, the right people to work with is super important. So I decided I would go back, especially because I hadn't found BCB at this time. There wasn't that. I had like side projects. I was working on other apps for ballet, things like that, but it wasn't, I knew it was not, I'm going to quit my job to do this kind of thing. And so, I went back, joined his team. But then shortly after, that's when BCB happened. So I did go back for a little bit, but quit again to do this. Yes.
And that's where you actually really realize that I really need to do the business. I really need to start BCB. And fortunately, and you have always been very vocal about, it's important that you have the right team. It's important you to have the right people to help you, to guide you. Unfortunately, you did not start BCB alone. So this was when you also met your co-founder, Eric. So I'd like to shift our topic now to how you guys first met.
So actually, we met because of some of the other side projects I was working on. I was working on a journaling app for ballet dancers so that they can take notes of all the corrections they get in class or how they were feeling, anything like that while they were in ballet class. And so as an adult ballet dancer at the time, I saw him teaching class ones to the young ones. And he was actually writing on a whiteboard, having them take notes. And that's actually very uncommon in ballet. Like you don't really take notes in class. And so I was like, oh my gosh, he would be the perfect person to talk to about my app and just interview him. Starting any business, right? You have to make sure you know your clientele. You have to talk to a lot of people, interview people. And so I wanted to interview him about what he felt was important for students to be taking note of. and even whether it was okay that he felt students can take notes in a notebook versus on an app, things like that. So I met up with him, also a bunch of other teachers, but what drew me to especially asking him for an interview was that he was like taking notes. And during that process, during that interview, I had learned that his dream eventually was to have his own ballet school. And I had just mentioned a small comment of like, oh, when I was younger, I had that dream too, and involving my parents, and kind of this is the school that I wanted to build. And he was like, oh, that's kind of like the school that I want to build too. And from that moment on, this was just like early last year. From that moment on, we couldn't stop talking about like opening a ballet school, and my dance journaling app idea went out the window, and it was like never touched again. And it was just all this ballet school. But yeah, so it was funny because he said that was his dream. So it wasn't like something he was planning to do now. But timing is important, finding the right team is important. And so if you feel like you've met the right person, and again, like it wasn't just that. So it's super important to be in business with someone who shares the same vision, mission, and values. And so we spent a whole lot of time, like months. That was like the most important thing. Is it the same thing that we want to build? And what are those values? And what is the mission that we want to build? And so since all of that clicked, it was just like, okay, we're building the school from here on. And in less than a year, we've already finished our first school year, had our first performance, opened up like a physical location, which is, I don't know, super fast. It was just like, it just happened. And sorry, I do want to bring it back to one point, if that's okay. You had mentioned that you mentioned you were watching a lot of ballet movies and it seemed like it was very tough or dark, and everything. I'm tying it back to this conversation now because one of the things that we talked about was that in opening the school, helping students enjoy that process of striving for perfection, or enjoy the process of learning, even though it could be very tough, even though it could be hard, even though it could be very dark. And our vision of igniting a lifelong love for ballet, you can only keep doing it if you have that intrinsic value that I love ballet, for one. And then the second is to not be so hard on yourself and to be able to enjoy that process of doing it. And so if you go on our website and you check it out, those are exactly the things that we highlight in our vision and in our mission, and things that both Eric and I both very care about in building this school. So, yeah.
After selling my first business and becoming financially free, I knew I wanted to help other small business owners do the same. That's why I started Canada, a fully remote CPA firm helping clients across the US. We built the DreamWalk to understand exactly what you want to achieve and what's standing in your way. Our tier system gives you access to what you need: compliance, growth, full strategic support through freedom. No hourly rates, just flat fee subscriptions that scale with your goals. We've helped businesses from startups to 100 plus employees. Let's build your freedom story. Click below to start your DreamWalk consultation today.
Yeah, thank you very much for adding that, Adrienne. And I think that is very important, intrinsic drive and passion for what you really love. So it's not just I need to compete with somebody else, but because I want to keep doing this. And I also agree, Adrienne, to also let you know, I am actually a licensed professional teacher here in the Philippines.
Oh,
so
amazing.
Yeah. So I that's why I'm really driven to this conversation too, because education has always been weaved in me too. I like to study how people learn. I like to figure out what really, what interests a kid to learn, what they don't want to feel, so that they are not interested with what they're learning. So for ballet itself, it's very interesting how, like I said, some may be tough, it can be dark, but it's very important for teachers and mentors to actually show that to the learners that you need this spark to actually keep going. And I think that's for teachers and mentors to actually do. It's not going to be in it for children to have. Even with adults, not everybody can have the passion and motivation too, but that's why it's very important to get the right people, to get the right teachers and mentors for the school. And for these teachers and mentors to also have the same drive. You can't pass on something you don't have, I think, right? So thank you very much for adding that. Thank you very much. Okay, so so you met Eric. That I think I wasn't paying so much attention yesterday as to how you actually met him, but you said you were interviewing for your app. So can you now describe the relationship that you have? So it's very fun and nice to know that you guys didn't just share the same dream, but like you said, you now share the same value and the same goals. So can you please describe to us the kind of relationship that you and Eric have now that you have actually started and are continuing BCB?
Yeah, I think, again, I don't know how many times to say this, but finding a team is really important. And for me, being able to trust the person is also super important, which I think I learned that lesson in my master's program, where a lot of projects I might have done it by myself. And sometimes you can't do everything by yourself. And at my time in Microsoft, I learned that I was a product manager. So my role was to really help build the vision of the product, but then I would have designers and engineers and the whole team come together, make sure everyone knows what they're doing, but everyone has sort of their expertise and they can go and do that best. And it's just sort of managing overall, making sure everything fits and works together. So those two kind of together, with Eric, my co-founder, his background is in ballet. So he was a professional ballet dancer. He's danced at Pacific Northwest Ballet. He's danced at Ballet Arizona. And when I met him, he was also already teaching. And so he has all the skill sets from that ballet world, from teaching. And so many people I've heard from so many other students how great of a teacher of his strength. Sorry, you froze for a second, so I just want to make sure, are we still connected?
Yep, we are. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. And he also does have a degree in business as well, but his career has been in ballet. Versus me, my career has been really in management, in tech as well, but I was doing management stuff. So more of the business side, and I had my master's degree as well, but I also know ballet, and I also do ballet, and I also have that experience for ballet. And so both of us have both experiences, but on varying levels, where one in terms of professional level. So mine is more on the business side and the management side, and his is more on the ballet side.
So it's you guys complement each other.
Yeah, exactly. And so having that helps a lot, because then we have different strengths. So for example, we can pull from his network in terms of finding the right ballet teachers, or just even the network of pretty much teachers that we can bring in, or but then from my perspective is I can also bring in my mentors from the business aspect. So it just it worked out quite well in terms of, I think finding a team is super important, to have that same values, same vision, same missions. I'm just going to say this a million times, but then also having the different skill sets, which allows you to trust the other person in doing whatever thing, because that's their expertise. But also having that knowledge. So it's not like he doesn't know business and I don't know ballet. We both know both very well. But we have more experience in certain aspects that we can bring together and make it a very strong team.
Right. And you mentioned that you are able to trust him. He is able to trust you too. And with how you guys complement each other. So can you please tell us, what have you learned about trust and collaboration through the partnership that you have with Eric?
Let me think for a second.
Go ahead.
I think it's gonna go back to, again, the values, the vision. If those are aligned, and especially the values, even if you want to build the same thing, if your values are not the same, you can't trust that other person. But if those values align, and also we talk every day about the business, we're always talking about the business, to the point that we already know how the other person's going to think about a certain topic related to the business, that we can build that trust, because we know we're good people, we know we share the same values, and so that we can trust each other to make certain decisions or do a certain task. Previously for me, I think it was hard to trust people sometimes, because I wanted to make sure. So let's say business, you can do it in many different ways. You can grow fast and forget about other details, or you can grow slow. So making sure that all of that stuff aligned, that's where the trust happens. And I think for me, the most important thing was one of our values, and it's on our website, and it is one of BCB's values, is integrity. We want to do the work right. And for me, as long as that is still the goal for everyone, and our best interest is always to do things right, the right way. I mean, there's no right or wrong, but like the best way that we can, then I think that trust just builds up because we know that we're working with people that share those values. Yeah. So I think that's like the biggest, I guess, learning, or like how do you trust people? It really goes back to the values. Are the values aligned?
All right. Thank you very much. That's very powerful, Adrienne. And, you know, trust really, really is important, not just in everyday life. You know, everybody's expected to be honest. So you get to be trusted, but it's a whole different thing when trust is added into business. And here at Count on That, you know, it is also a foundation that we have, integrity, you know. So that is also one of the values that we have. And of course, the mission that we have is to help, you know, small business owners to succeed. And we think that for us to actually give justice to the mission, we need to have trust as a foundation. And yeah, so thank you very much for adding that. And now, I guess this was also, and this is actually, this question has actually been in my mind before you even told me about it. So Bellevue Classical Ballet, but you are in Redmond. So can you tell us a little bit about, you know, and you talked a little bit about how funny it is, you know, people go to the Redmond, like you said, it's a mall.
Yes, we're in like the downtown mall in the Redmond.
Right. And then they see like Bellevue Classical Ballet. So can you tell us, you know, is that like a marketing stunt that you guys are doing, or can you tell us more about that?
No, but it actually, I think I would like to hope that it did help with marketing, but that was not like the reason why we did it. So as I said, we did a lot of user research before we started. And part of that was like, what's the clientele that we're going to cater to? And what are they like? Like, what are they drawn to? And that Bellevue location seemed to be perfect for that fit. And even just the ring of Bellevue, I think, made some people like drawn to it. So we were going to be Bellevue Classical Ballet in Bellevue, and we were going to sign a lease in a spot in Bellevue. But last minute, the landlord decided that they didn't want a ballet school, maybe because of noise. Their worries about noise, or I don't know. We were on the second floor. They suddenly said, maybe they were jumping was going to affect the tenant downstairs. And so when we were supposed to be in Bellevue, we didn't end up in Bellevue. And on a quick note, like I didn't meet Eric until February of last year. And then we started like, okay, I think maybe around June was when like we found this kind of spot, and we were going to actually start renovating the studio and everything, or like signing the lease, looking into it. But that didn't happen. And at that point, it was already like July, and we're like, oh, we need to find another spot now. What do we do? But that's the life of business, right? And I feel like a lot of these challenges is like, just face them head on, just like solve it. Think outside the box, do whatever you need to get it done. And so we just, at that point on, I just, any listing there was, I would go see. At the first point, it was still within Bellevue, because like we were called Bellevue Classical Ballet. But everything that we looked at that had potential was in a gray shell state, which meant that it was just a box, and we had to build everything. And to build it, you have to get your licenses, which would take months or even years to get like everything in place. And mind you, this is right now like June, July timeframe, and like schools start in September, so we only had a few months to get everything done. So nothing seemed realistic at that time. But one of the listing agents of one of the gray shell properties in Bellevue was like, I actually have this, I know of this other place in Redmond, if you're interested to look at it, that was a dance fitness place originally. And now they, and actually previously we had looked at a few other dance studios that were closing down, but we didn't end up going with them because we are very picky with, I guess, even the quality of everything that's in our studio, because excellence and care are both part of our values. So we wanted to make sure we had the top quality flooring, like sprung floors, so that when dancers jump, they don't hurt their knees. The sprung floor gives like a little cushion, so that like it's a safety thing, and we want to make sure all that is in place. So even though like other places were dance studios, were like, I didn't have much hope going into this place because I saw other ones where it's like, oh, we were gonna have to redo everything anyways. But why not? We have to see everything. Like you have to keep an open mind at this point. So we went. The moment we walked in, it was so funny because we had thought about, we want our studio to have some greenery. We want some wood trim accents. And the first thing you walk in, you see is greenery and wood accents.
Yeah, and I actually saw your Instagram video when you guys went there, and you know, I really saw how you were very excited. I think that was the first time you guys went into that studio, and seeing you were also doing you were dancing inside the studio. It was, I felt like I was the one taking the video of you. And I was very excited too, you know? So yeah, sorry about that. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, that was actually when we picked up the keys. And so that was our first like walkthrough of, we got the keys, this place is now ours. So yeah, I was definitely very excited. So anyways, walked in, and then it seemed like perfect. And then the mirrors were actually good. The floors somehow, they were dance fitness and not ballet. So I don't know why they had sprung floors, but the floors were sprung. So everything was like,
wow, it was like prepared for you guys.
Ready. So I'm very glad that I kept an open mind, because like it's very easy to be like, oh, it's not in Redmond, I'm not going to take a look at it. I could have totally shut that option off. And on top of that, the rent was also, the space itself was bigger. Like there was a big lobby area, there's 2 nice washrooms. Starting out, I just wanted something small that was literally just all dance space, so that we can, you know, reduce our costs and do the same thing. So this place was actually a lot more expensive than we had intended, but I was thinking like we can find ways to make it work as long as it works for our purpose. So it was like not closing that door to go check it out. And we were there. And in the end of the day, I thought about it. It's like rent is a lot more expensive, but also now I didn't have to pay all of the startup costs. I didn't have to pay the renovation costs. I save a lot of time because we can literally just pick up the keys and move in. And so that's how it happened. We found our space because Bellevue didn't work out, and then this happened to be a place that met, besides the location and besides the price, met all our requirements, but the price factor, it didn't really matter because then I didn't have to do the renovations. And that actually was part of the reason why I was able to quit my job too, because then financially I was able to afford that transition. And so yeah, now we're in Redmond, and I think a really big lesson with that is just like, keep an open mind. Like there's always solutions to things. It's just whether you're willing to approach it or willing to accept it. And it could, I mean, some people could say it's lucky, but at the same time, it's like, we could have also not checked it out and just kept looking within Bellevue. Right. But I also love it now. We decided not to change our name, and I absolutely love it now because some people come in thinking that like our second location and we're super established, so we're like expanding into Redmond. Or it's just a great introduction talk, because they'd be like, why? They walk in and like, oh, why are you Bellevue Classical Ballet in Redmond? And it starts some connection and conversation. And so I think it all worked out really well.
Yeah. And yeah, I totally agree how everything is working out. You said you met Eric February of last year. You guys started everything. You were already looking for a ballet studio June, July, and classes would have started September. So it really shows how it feels like everything is being prepared for you guys, you know. And I can't help but feel that this really was the calling for you and for Eric, because I remember a mentor that I have always told my mentor, hey, I feel that this company, I'm working for this company, this really isn't working out. I'm applying for a lot of jobs now. But then my mentor just said, well, if it's for you, everything will just fall into place. And I think that's what's happening for you and Eric and for Bellevue or BCB, that everything just fell into place. And of course, you also mentioned that there might be hiccups along the way, but you just have to think outside of the box, and then you should have the drive of getting things done. No, not giving up, not just being okay with, what challenges are at the table and just allowing it to be a challenge, not actually looking for other ways to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. We are super lucky, yes, and like it's just we're like everything's coming together. But it's also super important that you don't just like sit there and wait for it to be handed to you, right? A lot of it is like you have to be proactive to make those opportunities come to you, and I think that's like what makes or breaks a business, or what is considered like luck or not luck. Mm-hmm. It's whether you actually actively go and try to find those lucky opportunities for you.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
actually, you were talking about starting classes in September. Funny story, we picked up our keys in August. We signed the lease in less than 1 month, which is very short time frame for anyone who doesn't know about commercial leases. We picked up the keys on a Friday. We cleaned the place Saturday. And on Monday was actually our first class, which the AC broke on Monday. Actually, the AC was broken, but nobody told us. So on Monday, we were supposed to start class, and the AC was not working on the hottest day of that year, on the hottest day of last year. So we actually had to not open on the first day of classes that people had already paid for to fix the AC and get it started for Tuesday. But yeah, it's really fun. I just feel like you just gotta keep like hustling to make things the way you want it to be or to keep it going.
Yeah, and yeah, it still shows how you and Eric can like, okay, so this is a problem today, we'll figure it out, and then we'll just have to still continue doing it, you know. So what were you guys able to do after that? You mentioned earlier you do classes every day. So since they missed the first day of class, what did you guys, did you have to move that class into another, and then the parents or the students didn't have to pay? How did that come to be?
Yeah, so actually in August we were doing drop-in classes at the time. So they were just adult classes because our school year for the kids actually started in September. So it was adult classes, and our adult class model is pay per class. So you only have to pay for one class. So that transition was a lot easier because we could just then be like, oh, I'll move your credit to another class that you want to go to. So that's how it worked. But we did actually have a few days that we did have to take off throughout the year because the school it's literally just me and Eric. So like if one of us gets sick or something happens, it's like if that day we have to close down. We did end up scheduling, we did an extra week of work this school year past our school year end date just because like we did have to make up some of the classes. But we just find ways.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. So now, Adrienne, I know, you know, starting a business and then running a school can require multiple hats, you know, so you have an experience being a dancer and also a business owner. But are there qualities from ballet that have helped you as an entrepreneur?
From ballet to entrepreneur? I think the drive, as you had mentioned earlier, just the desire to keep doing something more or to keep doing it, or just that knowing what that feeling feels like of having that like inner drive, bringing that from ballet to the business really helps. In ballet, we're also very detail oriented. Like every single little detail matters. And so that teaches us a lot about the care in the work that we do. And that ends up going into the business as well. I care about every single feedback that I get, maybe a little too much. I care about like all the feedback that we get and how can we make it better for our students? How can we make it better for everyone? How can we keep getting better? So I think a lot of these qualities do come from ballet, where it's like attention to detail, the care and the everything matters. And just I think everyone in ballet, like you have to be very hardworking in ballet, and to be an entrepreneur, I think you also have to be very hardworking. I mean, I think there's different types of business owners. You can be more like of an investor, you can be more hands-on, you can be whatever. But the way that we wanted to build was very startup-like or scrappy or like from the ground up. All like we put every single thing that is in the studio, every single little detail has our indent on it. Like it was not just random decisions that were made. And I lost my train of thought. But yes, that dedication, that care, that excellence, and that hard work that you're willing to put in. That's what it was. It was the hard work. The willingness to put in that hard work, I think, is one thing that we learned, and to like enjoy the process. And like we keep saying about like how harsh the ballet world, how hard it is, or like dark from all the and everything, but like ballet is very beautiful. It's very
It is.
It's so beautiful, and it just, I mean, what I love most about it also is the performing aspect, just being on the stage, and that moment is just yours, and you are dancing your heart and soul and interpreting it how like it should be interpreted or you want to interpret. I think that's really, 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 really beautiful. So I think it's same thing for the business. It's like keeping in mind, like knowing all the hard work and all of that grit and like just keep pushing that it takes to build it, but also like at the end of the day, it's a really beautiful thing and a very great experience that you need to like enjoy.
And listening to you right now, Adrienne, I can really see the love that you have for ballet. And before being an entrepreneur, you were a ballerina, or you started with ballet. So have there been moments when, running the business got in the way of your passion for dancing? Do you have like a feeling you enter your ballet studio, you just wanna dance, but then, oh, Adrienne, you need to run the business. So have there been moments like that, or yeah?
Many moments this year where you would think I run a ballet a studio and I could just take any class that I wanted to if I ever wanted to, but business just calls and we're working 24/7, and sometimes it's like I have to sacrifice my own time in taking a class to make sure this urgent thing gets done or to make sure this thing gets done. And so yes, a little bit, but that's something that I'm planning to change as well, in which moving forward it's like super important to schedule time where it's like this block of time is to do this certain thing. And so hopefully I can take more ballet class then, because actually the past weekend I did step into one of the classes. Our students were learning a variation. Oh, or you could call it a variation. I said you could call it a ballet piece. Sometimes you could call it a variation. We were learning a piece from Swan Lake. It was a Dying Swan variation. And it's like such a beautiful, vulnerable piece. And I just decided to take class. And it was like the best feeling that I've had in a really long time. And so being able to save moments to do that, I think is super important. That it's something that I want to work on going forward as well. There was that aspect of just like feeling that I'm always like busy and didn't have time for class, but the other aspect is I'm teaching quite a bit as well. So sometimes it's quite burdensome on my body. So sometimes it's like, even if I ended up having the time to dance, my body did not feel like dancing because like sometimes as teachers, you're not the one dancing. So sometimes when you suddenly have to demonstrate, but you weren't like, you're not warm and everything, it really does like take a toll on the body. So it's like managing those things so that we can keep doing the things that we love doing. But yes, and definitely something that like I want to prioritize more next year, which is just like really taking more classes for myself.
Yeah, and I can feel how you felt, just being in that class. And Swan Lake, I grew up, there are different, like there are cartoons, you just see how classical that variation is. And it's not just in ballet, but it can be like stories being told about the Swan Lake and something like that. So and yeah, I can really see, and hopefully you again will have more time to actually also, and hopefully your body also agrees, at the same time with you, to get you back to your passion. Because I think, yes, business should be, business is business, but to all the listeners that we have also here, business is business, but never forget the passion and why you guys are in, or what, don't forget why you're doing what you're doing. Okay?
Yeah.
So thank you very much for adding that, Adrienne. Okay, so right now, Adrienne, you mentioned you just started last year. So so the state of BCB now is, as a new business, do you want to come back for a later season, maybe next year, to actually see the kind of progress, to be a guest again and see how the progress is going with BCB?
I would love to, absolutely love to. I love to share the journey and also just have a tracker of like how far we've come. It's only been 1 year, and just to think back on how much we've accomplished. And right now we're starting to look for a second studio space because we want to keep growing both our children's and our adult program, which are two very separate programs, but I don't want to give up on either. Like if there's only one space, you're going to have to give and take. But I'm an ambitious person, and it's like I don't want to give up on any of them. Like they're both equally important to me. And so hopefully, who knows, maybe the next time we talk, I would love to share that like we're expanding.
Yeah.
Not as of now, not yet, but I would that would be amazing.
I look forward to it. So yeah, I'm very excited now. Hopefully during maybe next year's season, you'll be able to receive another email from me inviting you, or you can reach out and say, hey Andy, I'm ready for that second episode with you next for the next season. So right now, I'm just very curious. Sorry about that. Hold. Again, I just wanted to also ask. I'm just very curious. How do you guys like market your services, or how do you get students? How do you get clients?
As of right now, it's purely just word of mouth. We have not done any paid marketing at all for our business, and for me, I think that's word of mouth is the best form of marketing, because like as you probably learned in business school or anything, or during the entrepreneurship program, product market fit is super important. And when you find that product market fit, if you're providing what people want, then like you don't have to force people to come. You don't have to make a story as to like why you should try this or any of that. And so being able to grow organically and naturally through that word of mouth, especially because we only have one studio space, so there's only so much that we can offer, I think is something that proves to me that we're really doing the right thing. Because people who want, our main differentiator is that we provide smaller class sizes so that we can give every single person the attention that they need, and give them all the corrections so that they can improve. And so that naturally draws people to want to come, and one person tells the next and the next person tells the next. And somehow now we have, in our first year, we've had more than 500 adult students. I think at this point it might be more than 600 adult students, but the last time I checked, for sure more than 500 adult students who have come in and taken class with us, all really just through word of mouth. And that's really important to me because it does show to me that that product market fit is there. And of course, we actually throughout the year had changed many of our programming to adapt to like what people were looking for. Like we didn't know there was going to be such a big beginner crowd, and so we ended up reducing some of our more advanced levels that were not like filling up as much and doing more beginners. So it's really just like adapting to what people want, and then once you create the right product, that fit will come. Of course, when we expand though, I would love to start promoting, because like the more students that know of us, the better. Of course, we have our Instagram, which if you can plug our Instagram here, amazing. Give us a like, give us a follow.
Here's it's there.
Yes. And but yeah, so that's really all that we've been doing. But if you would like to take any adult classes, if you're in Seattle, Bellevue, East Side kind of area, we do them 7 days a week for adults and children's. Our children's division is all year long. It's an annual program, and we have multiple performance opportunities for them throughout the year. And then our adult program is really on a drop-in basis, so you can come at whatever time works for you, at whatever level works for you. So check out Bellevue Classical Ballet, and that's the most promotion I've done for our school.
Thank you very much for plugging BCB here. I'll give you more time to also do that later, Adrienne. But thank you. I was not expecting more than 500 people have actually, taken the classes. So this is actually very big. If I didn't imagine it would be, that big. It just shows, like you said, the clientele. It really shows, and maybe the location also. You should also consider the location. I think it was a very good marketing strategy too, because you guys are in the mall. So whoever passes by, there's a ballet studio here, and adults, kids can see your studio, and most of the time kids are attracted to it because of the what you guys are wearing, right? Like how do you call are those tutus? Yeah, tutus. So they're pretty interested. I want to be like a princess. So you guys have some pieces or variations. You guys wear tiaras. So I would say that is your location also was a good marketing strategy for PCB. And you also mentioned to me while we were still emailing that you had to prepare for a performance. So can you tell us a little bit about the performance the recent performance that you had?
Yeah, I feel incredibly thankful that we were able to put together our first ever performance as a school just a couple weeks ago on June 7th. Oh, I guess that's almost a month ago. Time flies. June 7th. Performance has been a huge part of my life. As I had mentioned, I used to be a backup dancer, and I choreographed and danced for live TV for many shows. And so that was my favorite part of dancing. And I wanted to make sure that our students got that same experience. And as you mentioned as well, a lot of like what draws maybe the younger kids in is like, oh, like they're in like the tutus and makeup and hair and everything, and getting to perform. And so all of that is like super important. And so I made it a point to make sure that we did have it in our very first year. So I'm very glad we did our performance. We had over 20 adults perform in it, and then our whole children's division perform in it as well. So it was a mixed program with both our children's division, our adult program. We had like a couple hundred of people come in and watch the performance. And I'm so thankful that there's so many people that believe in us and volunteered their time to make this happen, because just Eric and I doing this could not make a whole performance happen. But yes, it was 2 acts long. We had, I think, 22 pieces in the whole show. So it was a lot of just bringing everything together. Every piece had a costume, so we had to figure out all of that stuff too. But it was really a great way to wrap up the end of the year, to work towards a performance and to get to perform on stage, get your time on stage to shine. And we were very lucky to also have guest performers come in and perform. Oh. So we had one of our summer faculty teachers. She's currently dancing in Europe, but she comes back in summer. And so she was a guest performer for us. And then we also had Eric's brother and sister-in-law, who are currently dancers at Sacramento Ballet. And so we're so lucky that like people like flew in to come and put this show on as Bellevue Classical Ballet. So it was a very sweet way to wrap up the year, and we absolutely loved it. So we actually just announced our next performance, which will be Nutcracker Suites. It's going to be like different pieces from Nutcracker. That's going to be in December, on December 20th. But we just want to keep this culture of having performance going. It's super important. Like, you're working so hard in the studio for what, right? It's for your moment to shine on stage. It's for your moment to show all the hard work that you've put in. And so, yeah, that's important. And so, yeah, that was the show.
That was very, very fun to hear about that. And yeah, like I said, I did my research. I studied yesterday when you sent out your IG. I went, and actually, I think I heart several posts there. So you would see me there. You would see me there, Adrienne. And I was just having fun scrolling. Also seeing videos, photos of the business and yourself as well. And I could really see, like I have been saying, the love and the passion that you really have for what you're doing. And I think that's a very important part in becoming an entrepreneur or a business person, is you just have to, choose something that you won't regret doing, waking up every day. So I think that's what I actually see. And I followed you, so you will see me there again, and also on LinkedIn and also BCB. So we will be doing another plug later before we actually close. But before we do that, before you plug BCB again, I have a few questions, just a fun round of questions that I would like for you to choose this or that. Okay, so so for my first question, it's not for you to choose, but can you please give me 5 of your favorite moves, or is it like a dance move in ballet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, 5. Fouette turns is probably one of the ones at the top. It's the one where the ballerina just keeps turning and turning and turning and turning. It's one of like the more difficult moves, and I think something about trying things that are so difficult really like gets me. So fouette turns.
So that's 1.
Oh my gosh, 5. That's hard. Seesaws, it's a jump.
Can you do 3?
Is like a jump. Yeah, where like you split your legs in the air. I think as an adult, I've got a lot more muscles than when I was younger. So now like people jump higher. So jumps are in there now too. Seesaw jump. Third one, just bourrées on point, like in point shoes, and it's pretty much like you're just traveling, like
your feet are like.
Yes, exactly. Okay. I'm probably saying that because we did a lot of that in the Dying Swan variation, but it's just so like beautiful. Like you're just like floating across stage, and it's actually one of the first things you learn on point, but it looks like more complicated than it is. So yeah, there you go, 3.
Okay, thank you. And so my next one is, what is your favorite act or is it a piece? So for example, like you mentioned earlier, Nutcracker and Swan Lake. So which is your favorite?
Off the top of my head, I'll have to say Dying Swan right now because we did that just the last weekend and we did it for Adult Summer Intensive and everyone put their heart and soul into it. And it's one piece that's not just about the dancing, but really about the emotions. So the Dying Swan.
Okay. And then my last one is, if you can choose to be a ballerina for the rest of your life or an entrepreneur, which one would you choose?
Entrepreneur. Entrepreneur. Yeah. I think that defines my skill sets like the best is like to be an entrepreneur. And so, yeah, didn't do engineering for no reason. Entrepreneur.
Hopefully not, you know. But again, you can be an
problem-solving skills. So yeah, it's really the problem solving. So yes.
So you can still be an entrepreneur and then still dance, you know, at the side. So that was a good choice.
Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds, as Hannah Montana said. So thank you very much for sharing that and answering these fast questions with me. Okay, so before again we wrap up, Adrienne, do you still want to invite everybody to having classes with BCB? This is your time.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, we're Bellevue Classical Ballet. We're located in Redmond Town Center. So if you're in the Seattle or East Side area, please come visit us. All our instructors are handpicked. We really like to make sure that we give everyone the knowledge that they need to succeed and just how to do things and a lot of explaining. So if that's what you like, come try a class with us. For adult program, we're a drop-in basis, so you can just take one class at a time. We're open 7 days a week. We have all different levels. And if you have any children, we're about to start enrollment for our school year, our next school year starting soon. So please check out our website, bellevueclassicalballet.com. There's a place where you can put your email address in and we will make sure to let you know when enrollment starts.
Okay, so thank you very much, Adrienne. We will also be adding your information, like your website, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, so everybody can just go and visit you there and hopefully message you and get more students and you know, to be ignited with a lifelong love for ballet. So again, Adrienne, hearing your journey from being a gymnast to being a dancer to engineering to working in tech and ultimately becoming a co-founder of a ballet school has been incredibly inspiring. So before we wrap up, I would love to ask one final question. So can you tell me, what does success mean to you today?
It's a good question. I think I have a lot of answers to that, but let me just pick maybe one thing of what success looks like. To sum up, I guess, everything that we had talked about, if I can provide that experience that I had growing up where I was touched or I was changed or my life was affected by the mentors and the teachers that I've had, if I'm able to create that, whether it be for our adults or for our children, but just have a place where we can touch someone's life, I think that is the most meaningful thing. And I think that defines success for our school.
Thank you very much. Adrienne, thank you for sharing your story with us today. And to everyone who is listening, thank you for joining us for another episode of the DreamWalk Podcast. Remember that dreams are, they rarely happen in a straight line. Sometimes they take us through unexpected paths, surprising careers, and courageous decisions before leading us exactly where we're meant to be. So thank you again, and we'll see you in the next DreamWalk Podcast. Bye-bye.
Thank you.